Los Pumas squad for the August and September internationals, folks, has been announced. It's looking depleted. Don't get me wrong, there are still a bunch of big gun players in the squad. If we bring the squad up, there's still Vivas in the front row. There's still Guido Petti. There's still Pablo Matera. There is still, Lucio Cinti, who's a regular in the midfield. There's still Iskaro Mendy and Santi Carreras. There's still some pretty sexy players in this Puma squad. But there's 8 uncapped guys. 2 as well being invitational players. So 10 guys who've never played for the Pumas before. 10 guys officially out injured and 11 guys on the unavailable list. So many of the Pumas' big guns are sitting this one out. I think this largely pushes back to what's happening between South Africa and New Zealand at the moment with the Greatest Rivalry Tour. It's kind of left the Wallabies and the Pumas in the lurch as to what to do. The Wallabies have been a bit more proactive in scheduling matches. They got some matches against Japan and against the Pumas, but the Pumas have just got 3 games. They'd normally be playing 6 at this time of year with the Rugby Championship, but just the 3 games, 1 against the Box at the start of August, and then 2 against the Wallabies, 1 end of August and 1 start of September. So there's a big gap in August where nobody's playing any rugby test matches for Argentina. So they've just kind of been left to do what they're going to do. One good thing, if we are looking at this as a glass half full situation, not glass half empty, if we're being a bit positive about it, this gives a chance for a lot of Argentinian big gun players to rest, because the way the rugby calendar is set up for the professional players, largely based in Europe, the Pumas guys, they don't get an off-season. This is currently the European off-season now, and the Pumas are about to get into action. So they don't get an off-season if they play test matches. So some of these guys will genuinely get a rest, recover their bodies, have a break from rugby, but it still sucks they're not playing enough tests, are they? 3 tests instead of 6 is that's a big difference. Like, test matches don't come along that often. That kind of experience doesn't come along that often. So it's even fewer for the Argentinians this August and September. We'll go through the unavailable list now. It is long. These are all the guys essentially not injured, but for whatever reason unavailable. Thomas Albornoz, that's an obvious one because of his suspension, which is incoming. Might as well rest him. Alemano, Chocobates, Machete, Delgui, Grondona, Crema, Montoya, Petty, Oviedo, and Picardo. So that's some of your key loosies, your captain at hooker. You got a couple of your key backs out there, prop. Like, this is a big chunk of the Pumas squad. Absolute stalwarts and regulars for the Pumas who are just being rested. And the injury list is Bejo, Boffelli. Boffelli's had a terrible run. He's still not right. Bernasconi, Elazar, Gajo. So a couple of props. Juan Martin Gonzalez is still out. Juan Cruz Malia is still out. So 2 of their best players. Molina, Rubiolo, a couple of the locks, and Sclavi, another prop. So that's 21 guys, either unavailable or injured. That's a massive chunk for any team to be missing. But they've brought in, as I said, 10 new faces to potentially fill those gaps. I am not familiar with many of them because most of them play the rugby in Super Rugby Americas. If you want more info, check out the Americas Rugby News. It's a great website for everything American rugby, north and south, but great insights into the Pumas. So most of these guys are from Super Rugby Americas, which I think is a maybe undervalued competition because a number of these guys come through these Super Rugby Americas teams, get a cap or 2 for the Pumas, and bam, they get signed by a top 14 club or a premiership club. So if we're looking at this positively, which I'm trying to do, it's a bit of exposure for some of these guys who may end up getting professional contracts and then raising their game to another level and then being able to become Pumas regulars if they don't end up on the unavailable list in future. But it's a good chance for exposure for some of the new faces. They do have Leonel Oviedo, who's the Western Force hooker. Got a bit of game time in Super Rugby regular Pacific this year. He's in the squad. He's uncapped. And they've also got one of the guys who's playing for Stade Francais. That's Juan Martin Sclezo. He's a loose forward. All the rest of them, a prop, a lock, a couple of more loosies, a couple of centres, and a couple of outside backs are all uncapped guys who are playing their rugby in Super Rugby Americas. So how many of them get signed for professional clubs? How many of them get tests? I'd like to think at least a couple. That'd be certainly a positive outcome for the Pumas, given the difficult circumstances where they've had to schedule these matches in this time of the year. The other big names who are kind of back, Thomas Lavanini, you might have thought his time in Pumas Blue was done, but he's back. He played a kind of bit part season for the Highlanders. He was injured for part of the time, but he's back. for the Pumas after quite a long absence, so the big body is there. His discipline was pretty good for the Highlanders as well, which is always a highlighted moment for him. And Gonzalo Bertrano, who's been playing his rugby over in the MLR, the scrum half, he's missed out on a lot of rugby for the Pumas in recent years, so he is back as well. 68 caps, so certainly one of the more experienced guys in the squad. But like I said, it is a very, very kind of mixed squad, so a bit depleted, yes. Fingers crossed they get some exposure to some talent and rest some of the experienced bodies ahead of some tests in November. It's kind of an unfortunate situation. As excited as I am about the greatest rivalry, it does suck for the Pumas in particular. But you guys let us know your thoughts. Is this a net positive for the Pumas having fewer tests and more exposure for these young guys, get the old guns rested up? Or do you think they have ultimately been harmed by a bit of selfishness from New Zealand rugby and South African rugby chasing a bit of the dollar? Anyway, this is the Puma squad. You guys let me know your thoughts. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.